The Honourable Opposition Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I wish to direct my series of questions without notice to the Prime Minister, Mr. Speaker. My questions are in relation to corrupt practices by the former Forestry Minister in Forestry Department, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, each month, approximately 50 to 60 shipments carrying logs from Papua New Guinea to export markets overseas. My district is one of the largest.
The opposition leader's right to ask questions. I stand to be corrected, but the standing order doesn't allow for us to make innuendos or inferences or use the word accuse a fellow member of parliament in the manner in which he has raised his point. So I stand to be corrected, but if the Speaker, you could assist this parliament so that he can ask his question, but frame in a manner in which it needs to be asked. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Prime Minister, your point of order is in order. Honourable Opposition Leader, I will ask you to withdraw the statement, rephrase your statement in question, and ask the Prime Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Let me put it this way. Mr. Speaker, I wish to raise questions in relation to corrupt practices by a minister, a former minister in the Prime Minister's government.
Honourable Minister, Honourable Opposition Leader.
Let me put it this way, Mr. Speaker. I wish to point out corrupt practices in Forestry Department. Mr. Speaker, each month, approximately 50 to 60 shipments carrying logs from Papua New Guinea to export markets. My district is one of the largest log export districts in the country. Last year, while a total of 700 shipments went out from across the country, Wanimo Green River District never received any single toya, if not nothing, from the Log Export Development Levy. Log Export Development Levy is about 8 kina per cubic for every shipment of logs out of the country. And I'm not talking about the 50% log export tax. I'm talking about log export development levy of 8 kina per cubic. That is intended to go straight into the log export districts and provinces for infrastructure development within those districts and provinces. Mr. Speaker, these particular LED funds, LED, log export development levy funds, have been misused and misappropriated in forestry to entice members of parliament to remain within government, and no single log export districts have received those funds. Mr. Speaker, just like the proceeds from the royalties of oil and gas and mining in every mining provinces and towns, the log export districts never received those funds. We hear of about 80 million given it to Southern Islands, 30 million to another 120 million to Ella province. That's their royalty, they're entitled to it. Same as the log export development levy goes to the log export districts and provinces in the country. Last week I read about 3 million kina given to Enga Provincial Hospital from fisheries. How about the fishing provinces hospitals? Enga province received about 500 million in the national budget. And yet we are giving the money from the fisheries department. How about the fishing provinces, hospitals in the fishing provinces? And same is happening to log export development levy. Mr. Speaker, 500 1,000 kina has been charged for a signing of a log export permit. 500,000 kina for a log export permit to be signed. Logging companies have been held at ransom to pay. At ransom to pay to a particular person for his own fundraising or for fundraising for his own political party. But the monies have been raised.
Honorable Opposition Leader, we have a point of order. The Honorable Governor for his speak.
Mr. Speaker, I think I'm a maslo question long opposition leader, but I mean like asking mas go straight na no can try na involve him all narco linos and political party or kind of. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Governor. Opposition Leader, you may continue your question, but make your statement short and get to the question you ask.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker. If my good governor for the Greater CPIC is concerned that maybe one of his members of his party is involved, then I'm sorry. But I have to ask a question.
We have a point of order. I'll ask, the first point of order is from the Prime Minister, so I'll ask the Prime Minister for a point of order.
This is a house of respect, dignity, and decorum. Everyone's entitled to ask, but you can't make innuendos, you can't make inferences, you can't make sarcastic statements. Just get straight to the question, ask the question, we'll make response. Mr. Clark, maintain decorum in this house for once, please, in the manner in which we ask questions.
Thank you, Honorable Prime Minister. Your point of order is in order. The Opposition Leader, I once again ask you to get to your question. You have already raised
Thank you, Mr.
points.
Speaker. I understand that the logging companies were expected to pay.
Honorable Opposition Leader, we have another point of order. Member for Kanep, what's your point of
Mr.
order?
Speaker, thank you. It's a point of order that I must raise because the opposition leader, with due respect, I do see some of the points that he raises, but he mentioned that the ministry or the Department of Fisheries gave some money to anger provincial government. Now, just 2 weeks ago, I was in the assembly of the Enga provincial government passing the budget, and in the revenues, we did not see any money from fisheries coming into the revenue of the Enga provincial government. So I think that information needs to be verified, or the leader of the opposition can withdraw that. Because the facts are that I have a budget book that does not show
Honorable
revenue
Member
from
for Kanep,
Yeah.
I will rule your point of order out of order. You seem to be debating the question that is being raised. I think your point is taken clear by the opposition leader. He's only referring to those funds being given out. It's same apply to the forest. So we cannot debate that. And opposition leader, this is the third time now I ask you to debate more on your question and just get straight to your question. I don't want to hear another point of order again on your question.
I'm getting straight to the point, but everybody seems to be jumping up and down. Mr. Deputy Speaker, I understand that logging companies were expected to pay in cash or part of the proceeds remitted to an account in Singapore. And another bank in Indonesia, and another bank in the Cayman Islands. By my calculation, Mr. Speaker, from the 700 shipments, that particular person would have made up to 300 to 400 million kina. That particular person. Can the Prime Minister confirm or deny that the log export development levies have been milked by his government? Can the Prime Minister confirm or deny, or if he doesn't have information, I'm happy to help him with the information to investigate these corrupt practices in forestry, Mr. Speaker. I wish to just highlight here that $10 per cubic has been charged for Quilla logs, which is the hardwood, the premium price. And it's about 35 kina per cubic. And if you calculate that 1.5 million cubic meters of logs being exported per year, I know all of you have phones in front of you, so make a calculation and you'll find out how much this particular person has made. Mr. Speaker.
Deputy Prime Minister, what's your point of order?
Thank you. I'm very happy that the opposition leader has mentioned few bank accounts. And I believe you have made your investigation and you got information there. While you have the floor, can you give the account numbers?
Honorable Deputy Prime Minister, I will rule your point of order out of order. I will ask the opposition leader. He is only informing the Prime Minister that he has the information, and if the information is required for him to provide, he would provide. That is the point. He have made it clear. So, opposition leader, you may complete your question, but make it short. I've asked you many times to make that short. So
thank you.
get straight
I'm trying
your
to make it
question.
short, but they are continuing to interject, Mr. Deputy Speaker.
Okay.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, 8 kina per cubic has been charged for hardwoods, other hardwoods. $8 per cubic, and $3 per cubic for mixed species. I have the bank account here in the series of questions that I have. All I'm asking is, can the Prime Minister institute an investigation into forestry on this particular bank account and have this matter dealt with without delay? Mr. Deputy Speaker, we are leaving the Department of Forestry in the hands of predators, denying the provinces and districts where logs come out from their rightful monies. Like you pay the landowners of Ella and Southern Islands and Henga provinces from their proceeds from oil and gas and gold and copper. We in the forest districts and provinces deserve that money. With that, Mr. Speaker, whilst they are demanding that I produce the bank accounts, I will seek leave of the chair to tender this question because it contains the bank accounts, and Prime Minister can have the preview of checking this bank account and having his authorities to investigate. I think that's the appropriate. I seek leave of the chair to tender these questions contained in the bank account. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Sorry.
Question or a motion?
Honorable Prime Minister, I'm getting to a point now. If the member wish to seek leave of the chair, then I will ask the floor of a motion that if the motion, the leave that he seek is granted by the House, then that will be granted for.
You make that decision. It's from the chair, not from the floor.
Opposition leader, as I've advised earlier, I will seek the leave of the House. Honorable members, is the leave granted? The leave is not granted. I will now ask the Prime Minister to ask the question.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker. You've made a ruling.
We have a point of order. Honorable Member for Esala, what's your point of order?
Mr. Speaker, Deputy Speaker, you have exercised the discretion of the Speaker. In accordance with standing orders, you asked for a response of the House for those who say aye. You didn't ask for an aye. Only I said yes. You didn't ask for an aye. And then you ruled that the House had refused to grant a leave. This is a blunder of the highest order. Blunder of the highest order, Mr. Deputy Speaker, with the greatest respect. The Deputy Prime Minister asked the Honorable Opposition Leader for this information to be presented to this House in keeping with the decorum of this House. And Mr. Deputy Speaker, you did the right thing. But you asked for the ayes, and the ayes said yes, but no ayes. The records will show this.
Honorable members, resume your seat. Let me make clarification on the issue being raised. When I asked the House have said no. There was interjection. There was a no in it, therefore the ruling have already been made. The leave was not granted. Correction now that the leave was not granted. Therefore, I ask the Prime Minister to go ahead to answer the question. Opposition Leader, your point of order.
Your question was very clear. You seek motion to support that I tender this document, these questions without notice. And the floor responded positively. Hence, it is proper that I tender these questions without notice. You cannot overrule now because the floor has already ruled in my favor, according to the motion. So, Mr. Deputy Speaker, you just have to accept the fact that I have to tender these questions without notice.
Honorable members, the advice I got was there has been an interjection of no, and I've already made the decision. Therefore, I would not entertain any more point of order, and I will ask the Prime Minister. I will ask the Prime Minister to go ahead and answer the question.
You cannot play double standards on the floor of the People's House of Papua New Guinea. This is the People's House. It's not your house. It's not my house. It belongs to the people. And the ruling is very clear. What are we hiding from here, Mr. Deputy Speaker? I just need the investigations on the appropriate bank account as requested for by the Deputy Prime Minister. What is wrong with that? What are we hiding here, Mr. Deputy Speaker? Just accept it. Let's go for it. Come on.
Honorable members, order. Can you all resume your seat, please? I'm trying my best to correct what is in today. If there is a confusion on this, I would ask all of you to respect the chair on the advice I took and what decision I made. Honorable Member, Minister for Justice, what's your point of order?
Speaker, I think to provide some clarity, leave was sought from the chair. Now, while I respect the chair's decision, it didn't actually make a decision whether to grant leave or to refuse it. In this case, the chair not making a decision, even though a question was put to the chair then made another decision to put it to the leave of Parliament. So there lies some confusion. With respect, Deputy Speaker, the leader of the opposition have raised a number of statements without using the word allegation. Now, these are serious allegations, but unfortunately, he made statements of facts of corrupt practices, innuendos against individuals without saying they are mere allegations, because they are allegations at this stage. So correcting the record of Parliament. Now, Mr. Speaker, I understand with discussion from this side with the Prime Minister that the government side is happy to accept if they want to call a vote, either by leave and by saying, is leave granted? Those in favor say yay, those against say nay, not nay. Nay doesn't exist in law. But the point I also want to make, Deputy Speaker, is that the correct procedure for the opposition leader, these are matters of criminal investigation raising serious allegations. So the correct forum is filing a complaint, because this is not a house of court, this is not a house of criminal jurisdiction. Wait. So, Deputy Speaker, the appropriate forum doesn't say he can table here. The appropriate forum would be to file a complaint with the fraud squad and police or the OC, and if he seeks to, if the opposition leader seeks to table it, I understand the government is happy for the Deputy Speaker to ask for leave, and then we can basically make a ruling on what the divisions are or response from Parliament, whether leave is granted or not. Thank
Honourable
you.
Minister, thank you for your point of order. Honourable members, I've already made a decision on the chair, and I will stand by the decision I made, that the leave is not granted, and I will ask the Prime Minister to give reply to the question. Prime Minister.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker. Every moment is a learning experience. And in the last 5 minutes or so, we've learned a lot of issues in as far as parliamentary procedures are concerned. And I appreciate the question that the opposition leader has put to. He has every entitlement on behalf of our country to ask opposing questions for the good of our country. Unfortunately, the process in which the paper was to be tabled was not allowed to proceed through, but right from our front, let me encourage the opposition leader that every other avenue is available for his questions to be tabled to. I think you could send a copy of the questions to me, a copy to the Deputy Speaker. If allegations are serious and concrete evidence exists, we are not here in the business of protecting anyone or protecting corrupt practices in our country. The inference on illegal activities in forests has been going on for many, many years. Forestry is a sector that continues to attract criticisms for corruption. There have been many forestry ministers before the current forest minister or the previous forest minister. The sector is always susceptible to allegations of corruption. But in the life in me, and I've been around for the last 15 years now, going 15, I'm yet to see an evidence-based precedent, whether in Parliament or through the legitimate processes of submitting evidence of corruption in our country. And I commend the opposition leader for indicating to us that he's got some evidence there. I give assurance to this Parliament and to the House. If evidence are concrete and solid, we're not here to hide anyone for that matter. But competent process must have a handle on these allegations. Competent process that is sanctioned by law in our country, we've had since 1975. Many times we do not choose to invoke these processes, and we come to Parliament to make allegations, and we leave it at that. And both sides of the House take responsibility, because no one seriously advancing these allegations beyond just allegations or matters raised here to the correct, competent authorities in police, in the Ombudsman. Now that we've set up ICAC, with IRC in tax matters, these are competent process. If correctly mounted, allegations will carry its course. And if those allegations are correct, then those who are responsible for corrupt practice in our country will face the law and face the music, so to speak, in as far as penalty dispensation is concerned. So I just commend the opposition leader for being able to raise an issue that he felt is in the forestry sector. For the record, he is very, very familiar with the forestry sector, needless to remind our country. Being not just the former forest minister, but more importantly, as a leader from a constituency that has a substantial forest resource. And I could understand the place in his heart where he is coming from, in as far as those questions are concerned. And I asked him if he could kindly And he's raised the issue already. It's public knowledge now. Whatever paper you had that the motion stopped in between, doesn't mean it is stopped there. I am here to take that paper from you through a formal letter you sent to me. The Speaker, or the Office of the Speaker, is here to take the question through a formal letter that is normally done so. You can send to the Office of the Speaker. But more importantly, for me, an administrative inquiry or a request for the competent authorities to work on will come from me to them also. But as a leader of our country, you're entitled, as you've gone before police on many matters, as you've gone before ombudsman on many matters on issues you feel needs to be raised, these constitutional officers are always available anytime. And of course through the public media. Step outside of the floor of this House and to the media, and the media is entitled to know allegations you raised. And you know, when the allegations raised are correct, they will be sustained and the process will run its course to deal with the alleged perpetrators of such offense if they do exist. Now let me take this time to also ask our citizen and our country and this parliament, Facebook is not a place to mount your complaint and let it rest there. Facebook is not a place of reference for new issues to raise to government or new issues to raise in public policy matters. Facebook is a platform of opinions. Lately, it's been filled with opinions, and not just Papua New Guinea, but right across planet Earth. Now, if there are genuine, legitimate complaints mounted on Facebook, the authors of those complaints, please, police commissioner and the office of police is there all the time to pick up. Just go and mount, and then you can make a big issue to Facebook. Say, look, I've mounted a complaint to the police commissioner.
Prime Minister, we have a point of order. Member for Abao.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister has already answered the opposition leader's question. Time is running out, so don't talk about Facebook, but you play Facebook here. So please, can we allow others to ask questions? Because I've got a supplementary question.
The Honourable Prime Minister.
All right. All right. Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker. I respect the point of order that was made. I'll just be very quick. On another matter, related matter, those who are in the forestry sector yourself, if you know it's illegal to give a minister or a managing director or a forestry employee some money that is not prescribed by law, and you are supporting it, you are legally also guilty of corruption yourself. Who allowed you? What law allowed you to give someone who's asking extra money if that was given not just today but in the past? You are a perpetrator of corruption yourself in our country. You proliferate corruption by remaining silent. If someone has requested extra money and you've given and you choose to remain silent, you are a perpetrator and proliferator of corruption yourself. Police is there, go and report for that matter. Prime Minister Marapa is not a police. You display company where you talk about one minister, one MD, or one forestry money, asking money, and me give him. Now you know report him, now you give him yet. You corruption, eh? So, current evidence plus Singapore account come put him, give him police. Current evidence, how much money you give him, minister come give him. You through company, you make him display. Company, you too no make him display now. You here talk, give him stuff now. Sit down, easy, and you too corruption, yeah? This plug and line, you will make him something no good, like country stop it now. You must put him headless or something, come to a stop. Forest minister today is not the first forest minister. There have been many forest ministers before. This sector has been full of allegations. Let's move beyond just allegations into actually establishing those corruptions. And I just point every one of you in the sector who make allegations on corruption, bring the evidence out to the police and make it known public to every one of us, including myself. Let me conclude, conscious of time that the Honourable Sepuka has raised. On the LEDL funds, let me apologize if it hasn't come to all districts and provinces who are entitled to LEDL funds. These are funds that are entitled by law, and I give assurance I'll ask the current Forest Minister and the Forest Department, check the status of LEDL funds. Those who are entitled must receive funds, irrespective of which side of the aisle they sit. These are entitlements by law. Thank you very much.